Alrighty, good morning, everyone. My name is Lars Henriksen. I am with Momentum Monday, the FYR Partners. We teach classes every Monday morning at 9 a.m. on Zoom, and then we record them through the wonderful World Wide Web and put it on our YouTube channel, FYR University. So today's class is on time management, one of my favorite topics. I'm here to help you understand what's important in real estate and talk about what activities you need to schedule and stay consistent with to make sure that you're a successful agent. So the first thing I talk about today is your time. So I'm going to share with you one of my favorite stories about your bank account. And I'm going to read this to you. And feel free to take screenshots if you'd like. These are some fabulous slides we're going to go over today. So just imagine that you have a bank that credits your account every morning with $86,400. And this account doesn't carry over any balance from day to day. And every night it's going to wipe out whatever you didn't use. So what would you do with that? You would draw out every single penny. So each one of us has that kind of an account. It's called time. So every morning it gives us 86,400 seconds every morning. And every night it'll write off as lost whatever you didn't invest for a good purpose. There's no balance that carries over. There's no overdraft. Every day we get a new account, and every night it'll burn away the remains of the day. So if you fail to use the day's deposits, it's your loss. There's no going back. There's no drawing against tomorrow. You have to live in the present on today's deposits. So we're going to talk today about what deposits do you need to make into your life, in your schedule. You want to invest your time to get the return, the highest return for your health, with your happiness and your success. The clock is running. Make the most of today. So to put it in perspective, let's talk about the child who didn't pass a grade and had to make up a class or a whole year. To realize the value of a month, ask the mom who needed one more month for her baby to develop, so the premature baby. To realize the value of a week, ask the editor of a weekly newspaper. I love this one. To realize the value of 1 hour, ask the lovers who are waiting to meet. To realize the value of a minute, ask the person who just missed their train or their airplane connection. And to realize the value of a second, ask the person who just avoided an accident. This last one, if you got up at 5:30 a.m. to watch the women's downhill, the silver medalist lost the gold medal by 4/100ths of a second. So think about in terms of time, how are you investing your time? You want to treasure every moment that you have, and treasure it even more when you share it with somebody special, somebody worth investing your time in. And that's true in your business as well as in your personal relationships. Time waits for no one. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. And that's why it's called the present. So think about this, folks. Why are some agents so successful and so many not successful? I want you to think about that in terms of your business this year. We're all given the same amount of time every day. And today I will teach you what top producers do to have a balance in their life, to have a continual flow of leads in their pipeline, and what activities in real estate you need to invest in. Okay, so some of us choose to use our time differently. So I'm going to share with you, in all of my years in real estate, my favorite article written by a guy named Dirk Zeller. So write this guy's name down if you've never heard of Dirk Zeller. Dirk is a trainer and a coach. He's out in the Northwest. I bet he's celebrating the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl victory from last night. Great guy. Dirk wrote a couple of books that I have. One is called Real Estate for Dummies. So he actually wrote the Dummies series for real estate agents. Great book. Another book he wrote is called Your First Year in Real Estate. And really, if you can learn what Dirk teaches us, whether you're doing this for a year or 20 years, it's all the same. So let's get started with that. So I want you to think about, in your business, every activity that you are focused on begins with a decision, with a thought. Okay, so we're given the ability to make decisions. And whether it's to be a top producing agent or maybe you want to grow a huge team, a real estate team. It could be that you want to be the best parent you've ever known. Could be that you want to be a great partner in your relationship. It all starts with a decision. And most people never decide what they truly want. And the class that I taught last week about business planning, that gave the agents an opportunity to focus in on what they really wanted to achieve this year. And many, many agents, unfortunately, do not have a written business plan. So if you don't, I'm happy to coach you on that. If you want to get a hold of me, feel free to. So for Dirk, he made a decision when he was an agent to work a Monday through Thursday work week. So anything is possible in this business. And he knew that when he did that, he had to create a schedule, a plan, which I'm going to go over with you, so that he could focus on his goal of a 4-day work week. And that clarity, what's beautiful about this, folks, is that he's able to block out the activities that were keeping him away from reaching his goal. All of those distractions that agents get tied up in. So the clarity helped him eliminate distractions that could have hindered his progress. And it allowed him to have a great career in real estate. And he became one of the best trainers and coaches in our industry. So making that decision. And I know agents, top producing agents, they work a Monday through Thursday work week. And primarily it's because they're great listing agents. Okay. So the next step is to create a schedule. That's really what this class is about today. And your schedule should cover all aspects of your life, including both your business life and your personal obligations, to make sure you have a healthy balance. And what you want to do is schedule the activities, which I'll go over with you, so that you do have life balance. And unfortunately, because agents don't work a schedule, and we use what we call a time block schedule, which I'll discuss in more detail, by putting in activities. When I was an agent, I had specific activities that I did every day. And I'll give you a couple of hints. One is prospecting, leads generation. Another is previewing the market, so previewing homes. Another is going on qualified appointments. So those are really the three activities that drive our business, okay? So when I was an agent, and I sound like I've been doing this for a while, and I have, we didn't have Google Calendars when I was selling. We basically had Outlook 2003 was the first time I ever used a computerized schedule. And time blocking means that every half hour I blocked off time to do those activities. So what is that in real estate? Well, I mentioned prospecting. That's the most important activity you'll ever do. It's your highest dollar per hour activity. You want to have time when you're qualifying your leads, your buyers and your sellers. You want to have time blocked off to negotiate contracts. I had a time blocked off every morning and every afternoon to return phone calls. So believe it or not, when I was selling, I kept my phone off. And I explained to my clients that I'm working with you. I won't be worried about any other clients I'm working with. I'm going to be focused on you and only you. And that means that if you need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, send me a text or give me a call, leave me a message. I may not be answering the call when you call, but I will promise you this. I will call you back within 3 hours. Okay, and what I did is I had time blocked off from 11:30 to noon to return phone calls, and from 4:30 to 5. And I know a lot of agents that will use that same schedule and leave that on their voicemail to let people know that I'll be returning calls today between 11:30 and 12 and 4:30 and 5. And that allowed you to be more proactive during the day as opposed to always reacting. And then you want to give yourself some flex time every couple of hours. Take a walk. If you're a Tony Robbins fan, you can do the, running very fast in place, which is a great way to raise your energy. I hope everybody does that every morning. If you run in place for about really 90 seconds, you're going to raise your energy level up. And that's a great thing to do before you start prospecting. Because if you're a low energy person and you are in a low energy time in your life, well, you probably don't want to be prospecting. You've got to get your energy up. Okay. All right. So this is a great exercise. So to understand your dollar per hour. Now, many agents never figured out what their dollar per hour is. And so I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you a quick exercise on how to do that. So without reading the entire slide, I just want to let you know that anybody can make more money if they trade more time for it. The key is to focus on activities that will bring you the highest return throughout your day so that you don't have to feel like you're working 15 hours a day to be successful. Okay. So I want you to, if you haven't done this before, take a screenshot of this and think about how many weeks a year are you working in real estate. So when I was an agent selling, I worked 48 weeks a year. I took 4 weeks vacation. My plan was to take 1 week off every 90 days. And we know if you're an agent, what happens right before you go on vacation, you start to get busy, which is why you want to have a business partner in real estate that will cover for you and deliver the same level of service that you would provide your client. So if you haven't done this before, write down how many weeks you were working, multiply that by how many days per week you're working, and how many hours, how many days per week, and then how many hours per day to get your total hours. And if you're working a full-time job, 52 weeks, 40 hours a week, then that math comes out to 2,080 hours, 2080. So if you do this exercise and you compare how many hours you're working in real estate, you can see if you're working overtime or if this is a part-time job for you. So then if you have an income goal, divide that by the total hours, and that will give you your hourly rate. And once I understood that, it changed everything for me because I stopped doing activities that weren't bringing a high rate of return in my day. Okay, so my average was about $300 an hour, and I knew that because I actually kept track of how much time I invested with each client. And I realized by doing that my dollar per hour working with sellers was triple the dollar per hour that I earned working with buyers. And that shifted my focus so that I only wanted to work with sellers that were motivated, as well as motivated buyers. And if the buyer wasn't motivated, I was going to refer them to somebody else. And that was the vision for my business. Okay. Now, again, I'm not going to read all these slides to you in the interest of time. This is a 2-hour class condensed into 1 hour. So, but this basically explains how you can determine what your dollar per hour is. And I love this last thing that Dirk writes about. People who know the value of time in their life, they create masterful lives. And people that don't, they seem to have a more miserable existence, and they waste a lot of time. And so today, I really want you to think about what activities you can invest in. So here we go. Now, this is the $86,000 example. Let me skip over this. So listen to this. Invest your time in high payoff activities, and you want to identify those. I'm going to help you with that in just a minute. Once they're defined, you have to be disciplined to do them daily. Okay. And these are the tasks that will provide the greatest compensation for your efforts. All right. So I like to use the analogy of if you had a business and you hired employees and you told your employees, I'm going to have you fill out a timesheet every week. And at the end of the week, I'm going to pay you based on how you spent your time on activities A, B, and C. So activity A, I will pay you $1,200 an hour. So write that down, $1,200 an hour. For every hour that you spend in activity B, I will pay you $15 an hour. And every hour that you spend in activity C, I will pay you $0 per hour. So shout out, how are you going to spend your time? Activity A, $1,200 an hour. Activity B, $15 an hour. Activity C, no money at all. Where are you going to spend your time? Don, Renee O'Hara. Activity A, right? So what is that in real estate? Well, every hour that I spent prospecting, I knew I was bringing in about $1,200 an hour. For every activity that I could have delegated to an assistant that I paid $15 an hour, that's what I was paying myself. And unfortunately, according to NAR, 2 years ago, 71% of all members of the National Association of Realtors spent the entire year doing $0 per hour activity. They didn't have a sale the entire year. So I want you to think about all of the time that you spend and waste thinking that you're working, searching all day on social media and, talking about what you're going to do and then never doing it. That will result in $0 per hour activity. Okay. So listen to what Dirk did. He said the high payoff activities for an agent, this is what he did. He prospected, follow up on leads. You want to have a good system for following up. And I had time blocked off for that. Going on listing appointments. He got to the point in his career that he was no longer working with buyers. And a lot of top agents, that's what they do, because they understand that their dollar per hour activities, it's always greater when you're working with listings. And then he had time to negotiate contracts. He had a staff he coached, and then working on planning his business. And he knew that those were the only activities that justified his $300 an hour billing. So think of like an attorney or a doctor. That's exactly what they do. The greater percent of his day that he spent on those 6 activities, the more money he generated. So I would always start with prospecting, leads generation. So I'm going to encourage you to I use a Google Calendar to block off my time. When I was an agent selling, I put in as a recurring event in my calendar prospecting. And every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, I made phone calls. And I'll give you an example. I called 15 people a day. I called 5 people in my sphere of influence to get myself warmed up. I did that in the morning. And then my goal was to call 10 more people. So that was my numbers. And if I called 15 people a day, 5 days a week, I knew I was making 75 contacts a week. And then I previewed 5 homes a day, every day after lunch, because that way I knew the marketplace better than most agents. And I still do that. I still love previewing homes. And so you should schedule that in your calendar as well. Good things will happen. Okay, I love this one. Develop a philosophy. So read the book Raving Fans. It'll take you 45 minutes at the most to read it. That will help you develop a philosophy for your business. So once you understand what your guidelines are, so have a vision for your business, and then you want to, according to the Raving Fans book, you want to meet your clients' expectations by asking them what they are. And then during the process of helping them buy or sell a house, my goal was to exceed their expectations, because I knew that the only way that I could create raving fans in my business was by exceeding their expectations. So that's the second part of the of raving fans. The third part is to improve your business by 1%. So I always talk about raving fans on this topic, having a philosophy, because that helped me develop a philosophy for my business. And I knew that I couldn't help everybody, and you can't either. You have to decide, am I specializing with listings? Am I better with buyers? What areas I work in? What price range I work in? You want to have a hyper-focused niche, because you cannot be a jack of all trades in this business. It's just not that effective. You want to be an expert, okay? And just because your personalities didn't line up, that doesn't make you or them a bad person. So he says, once I was clear on this philosophy, he was able to work with people that actually fit into that vision. Beautiful. And again, read Raving Fans. It will really help you if you haven't read that book before. And it talks about, and we've all selected the wrong kind of people. Isn't that true? So whether it's in our personal lives or in business, you want to make sure that you have a core philosophy that's built around meeting and exceeding the expectations and needs of your client. Okay. Now, this is important. Understand your business. So what generates business? What are your top 3 income producing activities? What's that one thing that if you focused on that one thing today and every day, you will have more business than you will know what to do with? Okay. So look at those answers, and then look at what you're worth at every day per hour. And you want to invest the majority of your day doing activities that bring the highest return. Okay. So, and he says, here's a hint. High payoff activities are not putting up signs or lock boxes. When I was a listing agent, I would take a sign writer on the listing appointment with me, as well as my lockbox. I would explain to the seller, I would put the lockbox right on the table before we got the listing agreement signed, and I would explain to them what the lockbox was for. And then guess what I did? I had the seller put the lockbox on when they were ready to go active. That saved me the trip of having to drive out to put the lockbox on the listing. Same thing with my sign writer. I would leave the sign writer there, and I would say, when the sign goes up, let me know what you think. Take a picture of it. I may not be over that day. If we need to move it, let me know. In the meantime, would you mind just putting this on the bottom? This has my personal contact information. So if you use sign writers, that saved me a lot of time. And remember, you can delegate a lot of these $15 an hour activities to an assistant, and get a licensed assistant. Great way to increase your dollar per hour. Okay, so know where your sales comes from, what drives your volume, and know what deserves your time. Not everybody is worth spending time with. That doesn't make you or them a bad person. It just means that you are running a business, a multi-million-dollar business, and you need to think of working that way. All right. People ask me, who do I call? Well, guess what? Dirk says there are as many ways of prospecting as there are people. The key is that you've got to do it daily. And, so I was very consistent with my prospecting. I never had to worry about not having business in my pipeline because I prospected every day. So there are as many ways to do it as there are people. You can do it in person. You can do it by phone. These days, you can do it by text, social media. You can call expired listings. I called expired and canceled listings. I try to call 5 a day was my goal. For sale by owners. I never made cold calls. I made warm calls and hot calls. You can set appointments for buyers, investment properties, your sphere of influence, out-of-area owners. It's literally an endless business. Where Dirk says, and I completely agree with him, if you're not spending at least 1 hour a day, every day prospecting for new business, you're going to have, at best, a roller coaster career. And at worst, you won't do any business at all. And that's not what you got into real estate for, I don't think. So even calling past clients and asking for referrals is a great way to prospect. And when you get busy, don't stop prospecting. That's what happens with agents. They get so tied up into one or maybe two transactions, and they spend 10 hours a day worrying about that transaction. What you want to do is make your contacts in the morning, prospect in the morning, keep the momentum going. He uses the analogy of an airplane. It takes a lot of energy to get going. Once you get to cruising altitude, you can't throttle all the way back or you will wreck your plane. So it's the same thing with prospecting. You want to continue to prospect. When you make a phone call and you get a lead and you've scheduled an appointment, don't run around the room telling everybody about it. Use that same energy to make another call and then another call. Have a daily goal of how many contacts that you want to make every day. Okay? Hope this is helping. And then Dirk says that qualifying the client is one of the biggest areas that agents fail. Okay, it's critical that you know how to qualify buyers and sellers. And some of us on this call teach classes on this. I teach a class on qualifying buyer leads. I teach a class on pre-qualifying the listing appointment. So you want to learn how to have that skill set in your back pocket. You want to qualify your buyers and your sellers, okay? And fogging the mirror does not count. So you want to make sure that so my definition of a buyer lead was somebody who needed to buy a home this week or they would be homeless in the next 60 days, okay? That's a buyer lead. For sellers, I was a little more flexible. I wanted to get the listing, even a listing that might start off too high, I could generate business from. So think about having that in your business philosophy. What makes the best client, all right? It just talks about the most valuable commodity we have in life is our time. So you want to invest it in the right people. So by qualifying all of your leads, you save yourself from putting them in your car and going into their house and finding out they're not a lead at all. Okay. All right. And it just talks more about, I like that macaroni and cheese. Who wants some macaroni and cheese with me? So the reason that macaroni and cheese is there is that if you spend 5 hours showing property only to discover that the client is working with another agent, they have bad credit, they don't have any money to go to closing, they're unrealistic about home values, that's painful. And any one of those situations leads to frustration and eating macaroni and cheese for dinner. So don't let other people run your business. Most agents, or many of them, struggle because they allow the client to make those decisions for them. Okay. So you want to think about qualifying them, setting a real appointment, or just letting them go or referring them to somebody else if they're not good folks to work with. All right. And then having systems. Systems allow leverage. So you want to have a system. So when you get a listing appointment set, you already have the system in place on how that is going to look. And Roger Karp, who's, I don't think he's on the call today, he teaches great classes on mindset that are part of the FYR University Momentum Monday. And so have a mindset, see how that appointment will go before you actually go on it. All right. So you don't have to be mechanical like a McDonald's, but you know what? They have a system. They're consistent. They make the same type of French fries anywhere in the world, and your business should work the same way. All right. So have a system for listings, for settlements, for working with buyers, working with sellers, with leads, how you work with other agents, a system for presenting offers, negotiating, following up with leads and clients. Folks, you need to have a good follow-up system. A guy named Nolly Williams says the fortune is in the follow-up. And the better you are at following up with people, the more influence you'll have in your life. And then learn how to delegate. So delegate low payoff activities that other people can complete. So again, the old saying in real estate is that if you don't have an assistant, then you are an assistant. So think about what are things that you can delegate. Maybe delegating some of the activities to somebody that you want to bring into your team, like a buyer, a showing specialist, or somebody who does follow-up with your sellers. And I encourage you to have somebody as an assistant. Once your business gets big enough, have an assistant that is licensed, because a licensed assistant can do a lot more activities for you than if they're not licensed. All right. And let me just skip over some of these slides. So I love this. Dirk says it took him years to learn these 10 steps. So you have the opportunity to learn those steps today. And Kristen is recording this, so you can watch this again and take note of some of these slides. Really good content. I unfortunately don't have as much time to read each one of them to you today. So I'm just hitting you the highlights. All right. So those are Dirk's 10 steps. So think about your work schedule. So I want you to, if you're taking notes, what do you have to do? So we call those the rocks in your schedule. Now, we all have rocks. We all have a routine. We all have things that we know that we have to do on a regular basis. You know, one of them is getting up in the morning. So think about your schedule. When do you get up in the morning? What is the second thing that you do? The first thing you don't have any control over usually. The second thing, though, that second thought, you have control over that. So for me, it's beelining it to my shower after I have my coffee in my hand. I get coffee, I hit the shower, I'm ready to go. I'm energized. I've already planned for my day. I already know the night before. I look at my schedule the night before. I know who I'm calling. I know what appointments I have set. I know what I'm going to wear. I know if I can go casual or get more professional. So think about, what do you have to do? You've got to schedule time to prospect. You need to have time to preview homes. I cannot emphasize that enough. You cannot just look at photos of a house on the MLS and know what the value is. You've got to go see those homes. And then think about other things in your life that are important to you. Is it your children? Is it your spouse? Is it working out? Is it volunteering? Are you part of community organizations? So what's important to you? Those are also the rocks in your schedule. So you want to schedule the most important things in your life first. I was a single parent raising two beautiful daughters. And when I did my schedule back in 2003, I became a managing broker in 2003, and I was a single parent. So guess what? I put my children's schedule in first. That goes in first. Those were my most important rocks, and I never missed any days with them. And then I scheduled all of the recurring events that I needed to do as a manager. I did the same thing as an agent. I had the same times blocked off for prospecting. I had time blocked off for previewing homes. I had time blocked off for appointments. And my goal every day that I was prospecting was to fill in my appointment schedule. My 3 to 5 in the afternoon, my 5 to 7s. That was my goal. And I spent most of my days on Monday morning scheduling appointments for the following 2 weeks. Then I went into the gravel. If you know about the rocks, the gravel, the sand, and the water, the gravel were the things like following up with people, things that I needed to still do. I didn't want to do those first. And what happens, what I've seen over the years, is that agents get into a reactive mode instead of being proactive. Okay. The great thing is that once you've created that schedule, and I use Google Calendar, I put in my rocks, and then all I have to do every day and every week is follow my schedule. So my schedule is one of my assistants. Um, so um, so I still to this day have life balance, and I've been doing this for 23 years, working a time block system, actually longer than that as an agent. I can tell you, I fought it for years. And then I finally resigned myself to the fact that, you know what, I need a schedule. I need to follow it. Create a schedule for yourself. And all you've got to remember to do is follow your schedule. Okay. And if you schedule an activity and you follow your schedule, guess what? It's a lot more likely to happen. Okay. And then think about who's on your team. Well, look at all these people popping up. So, who's on your team? Do you guys have good lenders? You know, if you're with EXP, we have a consumer choice disclosure now. It's an optional form, and they recommend that you put down 3 names. Okay, that's a CYA, cover your butt disclosure. So have 3 lenders, have 3 title partners, have 3 attorneys. Who are your home inspectors? Who are your general contractors, your home stagers? Because those are the people that you want to have on your team. And then when I meet with all of these people, and I literally meet with pretty much every one of these different trades, my question for them is, what can I do to help you? Okay, I want to maintain a service mentality. So I schedule time to meet with these folks, because when you have 2 or 3 people on your team that you can trust, boy, folks, that goes a long way to building a very successful business. Okay. So I love to throw this in for you to think about. And then who do you have in your, who are you meeting with in your schedule that are your coaches, your mentors, your trainers? Do you have an accountability partner you meet with? Do you have a role play partner? When I was selling years ago, I had at least one role playing partner that I met with on a regular basis that was better than me at scripts and dialogue. And then I usually had a whole group of agents that I was helping with their role playing and their scripts and dialogue as well. So you should practice your scripts and dialogue every day. I had that scheduled in first thing in the morning, and I would warm up just like an athlete warms up before a game. I would warm up before I started making my prospecting calls. So critical slide. All right, next. And then what's in it for you? So this is your vision board. I like that vision board. So what's your why? What's your reason? What gets you up in the morning? What are you working towards? That is as important. Dirk talks about making a decision. So if you don't have a vision board, then you're probably not working towards any goals. And I like to use the WIFM. What's in it for me? So who else in your life is impacted by your success, or maybe your lack of success in the real estate business? Because when you do goal setting and business planning, you want to make sure that you share your goal and your vision and your dreams with your significant others, your family, your best friends. When I was an agent and I sold 30 homes a year, pretty much every year, I would make 30 little boxes of houses, and every 5 houses that I filled in, I asked my children, where do you want to go to celebrate? And sometimes it was the beach. Sometimes it was mountains. A couple of times it was Disney World when they were much younger, because they were helping me with my goals. And you want to do the same thing with your loved ones. And trust me, folks, it's one of the most important things I can ever share with you. Share your goals, share your vision. All right. Now, this isn't an in-person class. If you're in the Ashburn area on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a workshop from 1 to 3 p.m. in the Brambleton Library, classroom A at the top of the stairs. And I will have some other sample worksheets to share with you. And it's all about time blocking. So I still have my last year selling. I was at Remax Gateway in Chantilly, Virginia, and I had my perfect week, and I'll bring that with me on Wednesday. So, and I'll have some other sample schedules as well. And you can pull this up in, really anywhere in the World Wide Web and find other sample schedules. But I've already talked about the most important activities: leads generation, that's prospecting, previewing, follow-up, have time scheduled for appointments. Okay. Let me go through a few more things. So 7 habits of a highly successful agent. So let me talk about those. So first one, God bless you that you're here today. You always want to be learning. I've been selling real estate and in the business since 1988. I am still a student. There's always something that you can learn. So you want to continue to be sharpening the saw. That's Stephen Covey's 7th habit. Have passion for your business. Folks, I love real estate. I love helping people. There's no other. I'm very passionate. I'm enthusiastic, and that's contagious. If you think about it, all your attitudes are contagious. The question is yours worth catching? The next one, be proactive. One of the 7 habits of highly effective people. So you want to get out and make it known that you own a real estate business. So you want to be engaged with your sphere of influence. You also want to be connected with other professional associations. So for instance, lead share groups. When I was selling, I was a member of the Hernan Dulles Chamber of Commerce, and I was an ambassador. So I would go to a membership meeting every week. I would go to a mixer every week or every month, and I would go to membership meetings and new agent orientation. I was engaged in the community. So you want to be making deposits in your community as well. And then we talked about having a business plan. So if you don't have one, write one. Let me help you. If you're on this call today, you've got my information. Let me help you with a business plan and make a really big goal for yourself. Because even if you don't reach that goal, ultimately, it's something that you're working towards. And having a vision board with all of the things that you want to attract into your life that you see every day, that will help you get to your goals a lot faster than without a plan at all. All right. And then the next 3, be tenacious. So don't give up, folks. If you get a no, that just means that they don't need your help today. It doesn't mean they're rejecting you as a person. And as long as you're genuine and helpful and kind and you're service oriented, you cannot be rejected. Okay. Don't be a bully. Your reputation is key to success in this business. These slides are a little, I just got these last night, so we need to adjust this one. So learn to negotiate. That's a skill set that you need to really perfect. And let me give you an idea on that. It's really about asking questions. So it's asking questions of your client, asking questions of the other agent, of their sellers and buyers, and then think outside the box. Find a niche. All right, and don't count on luck to make your real estate career a success. If you work hard and you take time to relax and to make deposits in your personal life, you're going to find that owning a real estate business is both personally and financially rewarding. And the last thing I'm going to go over today is 6 simple strategies to procrastination. I know all of us procrastinate. So think about, what did you put off until tomorrow that you could have done today? I was on a call this morning with my team, and I asked them to focus on just one thing that you want to do this day or this week that will move your business in the right direction and have the biggest impact. That one thing. Okay. So is it having a prospecting goal? Is it saving for a rainy day? Focusing on your financing. Maybe going to a healthcare provider like a dentist or a doctor, getting your bills paid. Have that scheduled into your monthly and maybe biweekly schedule. And so I love this one because I'm a recovering managing broker, and I've heard this a lot from agents. Think about doing a task and then not doing it. It's a waste of time. I hear agents all the time telling me what they're going to do. I would rather just have them do it and then tell me how they did. Okay, so think about, instead of fixing to get ready, just get it done. Okay, the longer you procrastinate, the more difficult it becomes to take action and complete the task. The third is delaying the task often increases the cost of completing it. So like not paying your bills on time, missing a deadline, you end up paying a late fee. It costs you more money, and it probably costs you a lot of time and stress. The Nike tagline, "Just do it," is one approach to coping with procrastination. Just get it out of the way. So it's not always that simple. The next time you find yourself struggling with procrastination, here are some tips. Okay. Monitor when, where, and how you procrastinate. One of the first steps is to be aware of the circumstances that trigger that kind of behavior. So pay attention to how you are postponing important tasks. Like, why are you putting it off? Why do you put off prospecting? And then record your details. Most of the time when people experience guilt or self-blame is because they were procrastinating. And it's also important to notice what types of activities that you complete and which ones you put off. And think about how you feel when you get tasks done in a timely manner. I know when I coach agents and they get stuff done, it makes them feel so much better, and it actually gives them energy. One of the things I want you to think about in planning your schedule is what activities do you love doing? And if it's in real estate, I want you to think about, for leads generation, what do you love doing? Do you love talking to your sphere of influence? I hope you do. Do you love calling expired and canceled listings? That's a lot of fun. Great source of future business. And by the way, I would say that less than 5% of agents call expired and canceled listings on a regular basis. Same thing with for sale by owners. So delegate or dump it. If there's an area where you consistently procrastinate, a great strategy is give it to somebody else, or just don't put it on your list of things to do. So many agents use the word should to make themselves feel guilty about what they don't complete. So I should have done this. I should have done that. Other people use the word should as a tool to manipulate others into doing what they want them to do. So for example, you may believe that you should blog or you should door knock. If that is something that you don't enjoy doing, don't do it, folks. Okay. And that's perfectly okay. As Dirk said, there are as many ways to prospect as there are people. And if you can't delegate it, don't try to force yourself to do something that you hate. Dump it, get rid of it, and concentrate on completing the tasks that you enjoy doing the most. Okay. And then take baby steps. Prioritizing activities is important. Nevertheless, the most effective way to stop procrastinating is to begin with what is simple first. You know, a lot of people say making the bed is the first thing they do in the morning because that gives you a sense of accomplishment. And guess what? I make the bed every day. I used to not do that. So I make the bed every day, and I got something that I can check off. And put a time limit on what's handled. So for instance, this has to do with time management, folks. You want to be streamlined. You want to be organized. So if you are getting periodicals like magazines and newspapers, you know what? Put a deadline on when you're going to get to them. And if you don't get to them, just get rid of them. It's old news anyway. All right. Allowing things to pile up is a constant reminder of your procrastination. It only makes you feel worse as the pile continues to grow. And then I love this one, touch it once. So it's a powerful strategy that produces real results. The goal is to handle one item immediately by either completing it, delegating it, or getting rid of it. So when it comes to paper items like a bill, place a red mark on each bill that you touch more than once. In other words, if you don't handle the item right away, when you touch it for the first time, put a big red mark on it. So you've already seen it. For things like emails, again, time management. If you don't handle it in the first time you read it, highlight the first line in red. It won't take long to realize how often you're handling the same pieces of paper or digital communication over and over and over. Folks, that's a big time waste. All right. How are we doing on time? We got about 10 more minutes. Okay. Use the 80-20 rule. So prioritize what's most important and then focus on completing those items first. So put first things first. Again, it's another one of Dirk Zeller's of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, putting first things first. So the 80-20 rule says that 80% of the benefit comes from the top 20% of our activities, and the bottom 20% produces less than 1% of benefit. So think about eliminating the bottom 20% of your activities that produce the least benefit. The result is that you're going to free up 8 or more hours every single week. It's amazing. So when Dirk talks about eliminating activities that were going to take him further away from accomplishing his goal, I bet you a lot of them were things like watching television in the morning. I couldn't even imagine running a multi-million-dollar business and watching the same news program every morning. And I know a lot of people do that. And I can't imagine starting my day that way. If you really are serious about running a real estate business, you want to think about jumping into the business first thing in the morning, getting the heavy lifting out of the way. Read the book Brian Tracy wrote called Eat That Frog. It's all about prospecting. If you had 20 things you had to do today, and one of them was that you had to eat a frog, when would you eat the frog? Would you wait till the end of the day, or would you do it first thing in the morning? And he says, if you're in sales, the frog represents prospecting. So it takes baby steps. And then the last slide I've got, and then I'll open it up to any questions you have, is I love this one. When I don't call anyone, I get a no from everyone. So contacts make contracts. Okay, I'm going to end my slide here and move you guys over to my main screen, see who I've got on the call today. And I want to just open it up to any questions and comments. So how many of you feel like right now you have a schedule that you follow? Show of hands. You know, I want you to think about the difference between a routine and a schedule. So I only saw one hand go up, Brendan. So tell us about your real estate work schedule.
So my real estate work schedule is a bit erratic. I have a construction schedule that I diligently follow, but my real estate, I've really tried to dig into FYR Partners a lot. That's not a daily, but it does start the morning off well. So from there, it's usually jumping into more construction work after that. So my real estate schedule isn't totally diligent.
Okay.
Have to
So
admit.
so when I coach agents, I'll ask you how many hours a week can you invest in your real estate business? And so Brendan, how many hours do you think you're able to focus on real?
I'm investing about 10 hours a week,
Okay.
roughly.
Okay. And do you have a goal for the year for units for
For the
families?
year, my goal is 12
12
units.
units. Okay.
Yeah.
So 12 people, so 12 families. And how
Mm.
many do you have currently in your pipeline?
In my pipeline, I currently have four.
Okay. So you just need to meet 8 more families this year.
Yeah, I don't see that being an issue, but I do think getting the ball rolling sooner than later is the tipping point there.
Okay. So let me give you a coaching tip. If you're able to spend 12 hours a week, 10 to 12 hours a week, I would take 1 hour a day or one. So really, I would spend 5 hours of those 12 prospecting. Okay,
Okay.
because it's always your highest dollar per hour return. And if you want to figure out what you get on a referral, just take the sales price times the commission, the percent, okay, and that's your gross commission. Take 25 to 35% of that, and that's your referral fee. So one of the things that agents never really think about, I mean, some do, is referrals. Because when you're prospecting, even if you're too busy to work that lead, you can always refer it to somebody else. Your dollar per hour activity is usually about $2,500 an hour when you're making referrals, because the actual time that takes to generate the lead, refer it to somebody, and then follow up, you're probably talking about 4 hours over maybe a 60-day period of your actual time. So that's always your highest dollar per hour activity. And I think agents a lot of times lose sight of that. And then if you work the lead, you're going to end up making more money. It's just that your dollar per hour won't be as high. So invest.
I certainly have overlooked the possibility of referring out also because that's a generator of income, like you're saying.
Yeah. And my point is that you're never too busy. You should never be too busy to generate business. Okay. And just like what Dirk talks about the airplane taking off, you don't want to throttle back all the way. And so many agents feel like they have to doctor that one transaction that they need to get to closing to pay the bills. What you need to do is before you start worrying about the transaction in the morning, make some phone calls. Invest your time prospecting for future business, because unless you want to have a roller coaster business, which many agents unfortunately have, is because they stop prospecting. They get busy and they feel like I can't handle any more business. Well, guess what? Once you change your paradigm on how you can delegate leads and refer them and have maybe a team of agents, then you'll actually make more money and make more dollar per hour. All
I
right.
appreciate that, Lars, because it also frees me up when I am able to balance the plate more towards the agent work that I'll have the leads and the pipeline in action.
Where is most of your business? What geographic area?
Most of my business is around Philadelphia, so it's in Pennsylvania, some in Jersey.
All right. So we've got people in our group, in Dave's group, that are in the Philly area. So yeah, so easy to do, easy to refer business like that. All right. Um, any other questions, comments? And again, if you're in Northern Virginia on Wednesday, I will be doing a 2-hour workshop, and I'll spend more time on these slides and help you guys with your own schedules. Um, I want to just emphasize that if you understand this business, it's really prospecting, previewing, going on qualified appointments. Those are the rocks. And what I would encourage you to do, if you have Google Calendar, which most of you have, you can create other calendars. So I run off of a few different calendars. I have my personal calendar, I have my team calendar. You can actually go in and create your perfect week. So think about, what time do you get up in the morning? And if you're not getting to everything in the day, what would happen if you got up 30 minutes earlier every single day? This weekend, I got up at 5:30 to watch the Olympics on Saturday and Sunday. And you know what? I'm still here. I'm not, and I still went to bed at the same time. So if I can do it, trust me, any of you can do that. So that'll give you several more hours a week to get things done. And then what time do you punch in the morning? So in other words, what time do you start working? And how do you define your work? When I ask agents, how many hours a week are you working in real estate? And they say like 60, and they have no business in the pipeline. I'm thinking about, what are you doing with your day? Because the only activities that will bring you the highest return are those activities. And that never changes whether you're in the business 1 year or 20 years. All right. Okay. Any other questions, comments? It's great to see all of you today. And thank you, Nusheen. Good to see you. My future superstar just got her start, and you've got a bright future, Nusheen. I know that. I'm a talent scout. Same thing with KJ.
Thank you, Lars.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, good to see you. All of you on this call. Darius, good to see you. And if you guys can come on Wednesday, I'd love to see you. This will be recorded and posted into the FYR University on YouTube, so check it out. And Kristen, are you still on the call with us?
I'm still here.
All right, we're good. We got 4 more minutes. Unless you all have other questions, I will bid you adieu, and enjoy the Olympics. If you're an Olympics fan, I know I am. And thank you all.
Thanks, Lars. Great class today.
So much.
All right, thanks for tuning in.
Cheers,
Thank you,
Lars. Take
Lars.
care.
All right. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.